What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Ysn Power Hour, proudly brought to you by our friends over at Toyota of Warren. DJ Yoakley here. I know it's been a minute. We've been trying to get things ready for the playoffs. Obviously, there's a lot going on, but a lot of teams eliminated from playoff contention last Friday. We're going to talk about that, the most impressive wins, the most challenging losses, maybe some unexpected losses or ones that are eye-opening, but we've got a gentleman who I turn to for a lot of things. A lot of things, not just in life, but especially in football. A gentleman who has become quickly one of my best friends in the entire world, and one that is a polarizing figure. Whether you love him or you don't, he's here to stay. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up, Coach Hake. Coach, how are you?
Hey, nice to see you, buddy. How's everything going, man?
Wonderful, man. How are you?
Oh, just another day in the rock pile, working hard, hardly working. Hey, it was a lot of fun last week with South Range with you.
Oh, it was
And
a blast.
yeah, looking forward to this week. I know that's a great matchup with Sugar Creek Airway. And they're one of the last dogs left, them and Ursuline. And is there anybody, Poland? Poland's still around. The
Yeah,
dog is.
we'll get to some of these interesting wins. You want to start with the wins or the tough losses first?
Well, no one suffered a tougher loss than me. I got a 62 zapper, but
Well,
that was 2 weeks ago. How
well,
about
that's interesting. Let's talk. I mean, that's a Dalton team that was pretty impressive, and a Dalton team that played Pie Valley Pie Matooning Valley. Sorry, last week, won by 2, and then this week they have Springfield. I mean, what did you see in Dalton that
no? They're a
you
complete
like?
team. I could see how they went to the state championship last year. They're a complete team. We deep sixed ourselves with turnovers immediately, but they good teams make you turn the ball over, and that's a great football team, and I can see they're always in it, and there's a reason why some teams are always in it. But I thought a lot of them. I did. I thought a lot of them, and now they beat a good Pie Valley team too. So now they're going to take on Springfield. Springfield has their hands full, but they've had a lot of success, and Guerrero has his team ready to go. So
So
Springfield could beat them.
if you were given the I guess the download, the intel to Sean Guerrero and the Springfield Tigers, what kind of team is Dalton? What is he set to expect? What did you guys see that maybe they threw you off, or what was it that really
No,
surprised you about Dalton?
they have a nice line. They have about 65 kids on their team. They got a great line. They got some really good looking dudes. So DN at 6. They have good looking dudes, man. Real nice skill team. Come out 5 wide. They got a couple running backs that are powerful guys. No, that's a complete football team. That's a complete football team. So you're gonna have to play 4 quarters, and you can't be turning the ball over, or they're gonna capitalize on short fields. And they're used to being in those games, like Mogador, like Cuyahoga Heights, like South Range, small schools that are used to being in those games. And when you're used to being in those games, you play well because you have confidence, and they're going to play with confidence. And hey, Springfield's going to play with confidence. That's a real football team. He's done a great job bouncing back after a couple losses early by good teams. When you play good teams, you learn a lot, and you don't learn a lot when you're not playing good people because you're just beating them, and you get a false sense of identity and security. And then when you play somebody good, you get your face ripped off sometimes. So I think that Sean has those guys firing on all cylinders. They're believing. Their line does a great job. Their defense, Springfield's defense, does a great job. I think it's Slowpeck that calls the D. He does a great job with stunts, and they're hitting on all cylinders. Their passing game's picking up. It'll be a great matchup. It will. Hey, Vegas is going to have Springfield as the underdog in that one. But you know what? That doesn't matter. Springfield believes in themselves, and they're coached well, and it's going to be, it's not a 21-point spread. It's going to be a tight game, and I think, Springfield can win the game. I do believe that. But they're going to have to play sound.
Seemingly, one of the most I don't want to say surprising because these two teams always seemingly match up in the playoffs. Warren Harding and Austintown Fitch. Fitch gets the better of the Raiders this time around. How do you like Fitch going up against Walsh Jesuit? I mean, where do you see that one going?
I mean, Walsh Jesuit has a tremendous team. I see they've beaten everybody this year. They've beaten Hoban. They beat Ursuline week 1. That was a tight game. It's week 1, it'd go either way, but Ursulin's firing on all cylinders now too. But I think Walsh Jesuit is the number 1 seed in that region for a reason, and I think that I think that they're going to be a tough team to deal with for 4 quarters. They have a big line. Their quarterback's a tremendous player. I saw him play against Ursuline earlier in the year, and he was like a wild man, one-man show, throwing and running.
Oh, we lost your audio there. Yeah, I think whenever it comes down, whenever you get your audio back, Andy, I think you got a call coming in or something, knocked out your audio. I think when you look at Austintown Fitch, you look at an underdog role potentially that I think you have to embrace if you're Coach TJ Parker and the entire.
Are you there? Sorry.
Yep, gotcha. Go ahead.
Yeah. You there, DJ?
Yep, gotcha.
All right, sorry. Yeah, making moves all around. Got Augie sleeping in the back.
There we go.
Yeah, but I think Fitch is going to have to play, have some things happen for him that's going to have to go their way in that game.
Yeah, I mean, do you embrace the underdog role if you're Coach Parker?
I'll always do that. You always, if you're the underdog, always embrace it. Us versus the world, and you just got to go from there. But he's going to have his guys ready to go. That Harding game could have went either way last time. So, it went to Fitch the second time, with Harding the first time.
And I think you mentioned it prior, the Poland game. They beat Martins Ferry 34-14. This is setting up potentially a big matchup, a rematch against South Range next week, now in week 14. I mean, how big would that be for the area if you see Poland and South Range match up one more time? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we saw what that was the first time around. Poland goes up 14 points. South Range comes back and takes care of things the second half to win essentially the NE8 that week. I mean,
yes.
As a football fan, how exciting is that for you?
I think that after seeing South Range, and this is just me, years of this, and I haven't seen Poland. I know they have a good team now. Mm-hmm. Poland has a good team. And Poland is well coached. They got 2 quarterbacks. They're both runners, pretty good players. I've just seen them on highlights and some other coaches talking. And I know Poland has a nice team. But after seeing South Range, that's a very tough out. And I don't think you can look past anybody. South Range is going to have to play a clean game against Garaway. And who does Poland have?
Manchester.
They're going to have to play ball against Manchester. Manchester is a good football team. They don't play the same schedule Poland plays, though. They don't. They don't play the same kind of football that Poland plays week in, week out. There's probably 2 or 3 teams that that they play Manchester that's like the NE8. But I think that Poland's more battle tested. I would think Poland's going to win that game, but they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play a clean game.
And then you look at Warren JFK, what they did to Monroeville, which surprised a lot of people, but nobody in JFK seemingly surprised. And a lot of us around here understand JFK is JFK no matter what year it is. Can this be another year that JFK makes a long run into the postseason?
Anything can happen. I would say they're the favorite against Cuyahoga Heights. Cuyahoga Heights is coached by Al Martin. I've played him many times. He's a great coach. I think that they might outkick their coverage. They went 5-4 and won a couple playoff games, and they've done a great job. But I think Kennedy, if I had a bet, I think Kennedy's going to win. Damon Bente's the coach here. He coached with me for years at Western Reserve, and Damon's a good coach, and I think they're clicking right now, and they're believing. And if I had a bet, I'm going to bet on Kennedy on that game, and then the winner of Hillsdale Malvern play Kennedy. I played Malvern. Malvern's a good team. So it's just matchups. I think Kennedy matches up well against Cuyahoga Heights. I do. I think Kennedy can win that game. I would think he would win that game. But then after that, you just got to go week by week in these playoffs. You can't be looking past people. You can't.
I guess that's the biggest thing. And you got to be playing your best football this time of year. And I don't know, Andy, if anybody's playing better football than the Ursuline Irish right now.
I see it.
Go ahead.
I just saw Stamboni. Yeah, he came over and
Hey,
said hello. Yeah,
love it.
yeah. My wife's fixing my hood. A lot going on, DJ. A lot going
You
on
are
here.
you are a man of many talents. You always
There's
got it
Jen. Look
cooking.
at Jen's.
Hi,
Jen's
Jen.
now. We're live on YSN. Dream big. There it is. Hey, I love you. I'll talk to you later. But yeah, you know what? I think that with the Kennedy game, they're going to win. I think they win, and they play Malvern or Hillsdale. I don't know who's going to win that. I saw Hillsdale. They beat Dalton in a tight game. So I don't know who would win that game between Malvern and Hillsdale. I think Poland and South Range are going to ante up here and play one heck of a regional final game. I'm not betting against the Raiders until I see them lose. We'll talk about that next week if they both make it. But I just think a lot of South Range, man. I think that they have the right looking guys. They do such a good job with canceling gaps on defense. Well coached, special teams. Gerard was game, man. We saw them last week. Gerard was game. They just South Range wore them out, and they do that. They're physical. They're physical, man.
I remember mentioning to you at about halftime that this isn't the best game that South Range played. In fact, I don't think it's one of the better ones they played all year long. Not to take anything away from Gerard, because like you said, they got up for it. Obviously, that game got chippy towards the end in many different situations. But when your season's on the line, it's going to. You're going to fight, scrap, and claw for everything. When you look at South Range last week, it was your first chance to really see them live and in person. I know you walked away impressed, but what was it about South Range that you saw that can sustain week after week after week as they try to get back to the state championship?
It's hitting. They hit, and I know that sounds, well, it's football. You're supposed to hit, yeah, but the teams that are constantly making it and advancing are teams that hit and are very physical, and they can sustain that hitting the whole game. And South Range is like that. They'll hit with you the whole game. They play clean football for the most part, and I know that they made some mistakes, but they play clean football. And better not give them a short field because they're going to score. They got a nice back. They got a nice line. They're the perfect build, like 200 to 220. Everybody on the field is 200, 220. Sometimes having big guys is great, but when big guys can't move, they're just big guys. They lean on you. South Range is built differently. And everything comes in ebbs and flows and waves in public schools. You're not always going to look like that, but they look like that now. And they look like that for a while now. So, you know what I mean? They have a great weight room program. They're used to winning these games and being in these games. So I give them a lot of credit. But I think the South Range and Poland will be a heck of a football game if they do play. But they both got to get there. So I know there's Tesla or Maslin. Not Maslin, but
Manchester. Garraway?
Yes. They play tough ball. They score points. So South Range is going to have to play, a clean game. They're going to play a clean game. But I think if they play their brand of football, real physical, make it about hitting, I just don't see that team running with them for 4 quarters.
Well, and that's the difference, I guess, is as we're chit-chatting about the week that's going to be here on Friday, when you running and defense always travels, right? In high school football, college football, pro football, wherever you are. And over the next couple of weeks, I mean, I know South Range has already met up with the backfield of Poland, but I was told that this Garraway team, the backfield is incredible, the fastest that we've seen all year. But we've seen some really fast backs. Thomas Easton has really did damage. We saw what Josiah Hunter could do last week against South Range with Gerard. Do you think that anybody can run all over South Range? And when we see it, which is few and far between over the last 8 years, it's been successful and sets up everything else. But nobody else, if you think about it, probably less than 10% of the teams that South Range plays can establish a run against the Raiders. How important is it for Garraway to establish that run?
Well, you got to keep the ball away from them, or hit big plays. You can't go, you got to keep the ball away from them. And you do the best running back. It's hard to throw 5-yard outs all the way down the field. You got to run the ball somewhat. We saw Perry manhandle South Range last year, but they had special players. They had these dynamic players, and then they ended up winning the state title game. So it's going to take a special team to beat them. They can be beat, but like you said, their program is really about stopping the run. You said, hey, what's the mark of their program? Stopping the run and them running the ball. So if you have to really be game for that, because they're going to hit you and they're going to keep hitting you, and they can bruise you up. I mean, Gerard did a good job, I thought, last week. Really did a good job with trying to do some neat things against them, but that hitting got to him. And special teams, boy, South Range sure focuses on special teams. So when you're focusing on special teams, punt blocking and kick returning, and even South Range got caught, and Gerard got that onside kick on him.
Yep.
But they sure look like they focus on special teams, and they don't have young kids out there a lot of times. There was some young kids playing for South Range, but they don't put, hey, we're going to throw kids wet behind the ears on special teams. He keeps his best guys on there, and that's what it is. Hey, I love you, man. I love you. I got to go here, and I'm going to talk to you soon. And to all the people at YSN, nobody's better than DJ. God bless you, man. I'll talk soon.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. There he goes, the head ball coach, joining us for a few minutes. Grateful for any time we get with Andy. Again, one of our key people here on YSN. He'll shoot you straight. Make sure that we're on our toes. We know what we're talking about as well. I think one of the biggest things, and I think he got interrupted as I asked him. I think right now the best team playing the best ball are the Ysn Irish right now, and I'm not sure that you can contest that. You look what they did to BASJ last week, and it was a bloodbath. I mean, it was Coach Reardon schemed up one of the best games that we've seen, and it's just been consistent all season. Ysn is, for the exception of Walsh, has been the best team in the stadium week in and week out, and I think that goes a long way as to their trek towards a state championship. I think South Range is going to get back on the path. I think that a tough week of practice here can get them back. And people are going to sit there and go, wait a minute. They're still undefeated. They're still 12-0 on the season. But I think if you look at the tape, I think the coaches will tell you they have room for improvement. And I think the boys will tell you they have room for improvement. They didn't play their best game against Gerard. They didn't throw a haymaker necessarily against Gerard. Did they have control of the game? They did. Did it feel like it? It really didn't. I caught myself a few times, oh my gosh, like we're on our heels a little bit if you're a South Range fan. If you're a Gerard fan, there was some excitement there that you were never really out of the game. And I think there's a difference that people need to understand is, do you have control of the game? Yes. Did you put the other team out of the game? Did you TKO them? Did you KO them? That didn't happen against Gerard. And not many teams can put Gerard out. They're always going to have fight. That's the culture of the program. That's the culture of Gerard as a city as a whole. They're always going to fight. And whether they win, lose, or draw, Gerard is always going to let you know that they were in a fight. And you're always going to know that you're in one. And every time you play that Power G. And I think Gerard gave a lot of opportunity for teams, if they have the athletes, to look at that film and say, this is how we can penetrate South Range. This is how we can kind of get to South Range. And if you look at that tape very closely, I think again, I don't want to say it's a weakness. I think there's opportunities. However, I don't know that there's many teams out there that have the athletes that Gerard does. I think Poland could be one of them, and we've seen that matchup already. I think, as we've talked about all season long with South Range, it's a situation where you've got to come to play for 5 quarters. And I mean that. You've got to come to play for overtime. Very rarely are you going to beat South Range 4 quarters. You got to go and pretend like that game's going to go to overtime. You've got to be ready to go. You have to be, kind of win the 5th round in a boxing match. And because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be 2-2. It's going to be a split decision after 4, can you win the 5th quarter? And if you walk away winners after 4, that's a cherry on top. But not many teams can beat South Range for 4 quarters. And Andy alluded to the special teams. I read a quote earlier this week, as a matter of fact, in the NFL. Now, this is plucking it from the NFL and applying it at the high school level. But you look at most coaches will tell you they need to win 2 out of 3 phases. And most coaches will tell you that they want offense and defense, but they won't look towards special teams. There's something to South Range in special teams this year. We're seeing kickoff returns for touchdowns. We're seeing punt blocks. We're seeing field goal blocks. We're seeing all kinds of special teams being won by the Burgundy and Gold. And if they can win 3 phases of the game, they're guaranteed to win. If they can win 2 phases and it's defense and special teams, and their offense is able to be somewhat consistent, South Range is going to beat you. Most teams are looking at South Range and saying, how do we stop Tristan Toy? How do we stop Aiden Dominguez? How do we stop Dylan Smesko? How do we stop Nate Lewis? How do we stop Gavin Nagy? How do we stop? I mean, the list goes on and on. Troy Combs. Coaches aren't necessarily looking at how they get to the football on special teams, on a punt block, or what Gerard did. Pat Pearson did extremely well. He saw an opportunity, onside kick. You had to do it anyway. But going into it, you're probably going to need that once or twice during a game and expose the Raiders on an onside kick situation. Now, defensively, good luck. I've heard call after call after call, message after message after message that Garraway is going to expose South Range with the running back that they have this particular contest. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've heard that sentiment over the 8 seasons that I have announced South Range football. And I can count on one hand how many times it's actually come to fruition. Now, I'm not talking trash. I'm not trying to give any bulletin board material to Garraway. They're a great team in their own right. But go ask any team that plays South Range right after the game how challenging it is for them to establish the run and to become a balanced offense against the Raiders. And my prediction would be that many teams, I mean, you've seen Division I running backs go down to the hands of South Range. And they've run for more in a college atmosphere than they did against the South Range Raiders. Number one, something that since I was in high school, even in middle school, South Range is going to do is they're going to take away your best weapon. And they're going to make you beat them in some other way. The best teams do that. Ursuline, another great example. Warren JFK, another great example. That's why when people, Dana Balish and everybody asked me, or really anybody, it was a pretty easy answer, is Warren JFK, Ursuline, South Range are probably going to be the teams that go the furthest, because not only do they make you play their game, but they take away yours to make them play theirs. The only team that I've seen been able to make South Range turn on their ear is Kirtland. I saw it with Ursuline in a state championship a few years ago. They had a lead through 2 quarters in the state championship, mind you, and the team that they played against, and I'm forgetting their name, so I apologize because they deserve respect, did nothing but run the football, and they beat Ursuline by just beating them up front and running the football down their throat and essentially running their way to a state championship. New Bremen, a few years ago, state championship, Warren JFK. New Bremen did the same exact thing. Run the football. Now, they ran it with their quarterback who ran for over 300 yards that particular game in the state championship. But I will tell you this. Those are the 3 teams right now that make you, because of their experience, because of the coaching staffs, because of They understand what it takes to build that program from the ground up. Those are the three, right, that you've seen. I believe those are the only three that are on the board with state championships right now from the YSN perspective, other than Perry, which we saw with Perry. And I'm going to take back. Perry was able to establish the run last year in the Division V regionals against South Range, which led them to that state championship. I don't know, when you look at this, if there's anybody out there on the other side of the bracket, or even in this bracket, those three teams specifically, they're going to be able to do enough damage to beat those teams. They are sharpened, they are skilled, they have the speed, they have the strength. Now, when you're talking about South Range, people are going to tell you they're not big, but you don't have to be. Because when you see 11 hats to the football, I don't care who you are, what division you're going to go down. When it's 11 on 1, 11 on 2, you're going down. And I'm not sure that there's anybody that can match the speed of South Range, Ursuline, JFK. I mean, JFK is punking teams with their speed. They've got guys that are out, doesn't matter. Next guy up. Luke Starkey last week, 4 sacks. I mean, it's like people forget that South Range won a state championship 2 years ago. It's like people forget that Ursuline has been in state championships after state championship, that Dan Reardon has brought home more rings than Donald Trump's fiancés, right? I mean, it's incredible how we forget that Warren JFK is an established program no matter who is coaching. Those kids were built on tradition. David Bente, a great coach in his own right, comes in and says, we haven't earned anything until we've earned something. And all of a sudden, these guys are earning the respect. This program is back on track. All under the radar somehow. Ursuline, under the radar somehow. And South Range, always under the radar. Always. It's incredible to me that we're looking at these programs and nobody's giving them a puncher's chance at a state championship because they're not built. They're not 6'5" front lines. You know, and Ursuline's got a big line and they've got some weapons. And I would argue that Johnny DeSantis has more weapons over there that he knows what to do with right now that haven't been exposed, that haven't been put on tape, or if they have, it's not much. And he's just sitting there getting ready because Ursuline does not back down. They're not afraid to throw out an ace card every once in a while. Same with JFK and certainly the same with South Range. I said it when we started the playoffs. Teams like Springfield, everybody remembers Boilermaker, right? They remember those moments. We still remember them to this day. Those moments that make you go, wow. Those moments that create memories that'll last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Springfield will be talking about Boilermaker until the cows come home. At their 50th reunion, those boys will be talking, those men from that perspective, will be talking about Boilermaker and how it changed the entire year for them, how it changed potentially their lives by advancing in the playoffs, by running these trick plays. I am stoked for this part because this is where weeks 13 to 16 is where you're going to not leave anything in the bag. Nothing gets left in the tank. Nothing is held back. And when you look at these teams, you look at, I mean, and Perry's one of our teams, by golly, what a 3-0 win over Struthers. Hat tip to Struthers. Because Perry, I think, against Glenville, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think they're going to surprise people I think Perry's a different animal when it comes to what Glenville has to look at. And for me, Struthers was the better matchup against Perry than Glenville. Glenville is speed, speed, speed. We all know Ted Ginn is leading the charge there. Perry can beat you in a multitude of ways. And they are, as we saw, I mean, to be able to stop Struthers defensively and shut out Struthers, I don't know that we've, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm off on this. I don't know that we've seen Struthers shut out this year outside of what we saw on Friday night. I like JFK. I like Perry. Fitch, I really am starting to lean towards. The more that, I talk to Ty Bartell, the more I get intel of what kind of he thinks the game plan will be. That's going to be an audio-only broadcast because it is being picked up by Spectrum. So just FYI, you'll be able to listen to that absolutely free. Or if you're tuning in for the Purple Play Power Pass or whatever we're calling it, the digital package that we sell on Fridays, that'll be part of it too. But just so you know, if you're a Fitch fan, you don't have to necessarily buy the rest of the package unless you love football to come with it. So just FYI, not trying to undersell what we're trying to do, just trying to be completely transparent. We talked about JFK. Poland, I think, again, do they have to play a perfect game against Manchester? I don't think so. I just think Poland has to be Poland. I love what Chase Jones is doing. I love what he's been able to do. I love David Zipolidis, what he's been able to establish there as a freshman. I mean, Poland, I think they want this rematch with South Range because they felt like they let one slip away earlier in the season, in week 6. They felt like they let one get away from them, which potentially changed their season. I'm really interested. We're not putting the cart in front of the horse. Week 14 is going to be unbelievable if we're able to get that matchup. This is why I loved seeing Poland in Division 5. This is why I loved seeing Girard in Division 5. Because South Range needs that sharpening block to let people know in weeks 15 and 16 they're back. Daddy's home. The boys are back. However you cut it up. But we're not going to overlook Poland. Certainly not. We're not going to overlook Garaway. But if that matchup happens, obviously there's a lot of interest and intrigue from our standpoint at YSN being 2 YSN-affiliated teams, 2 members of the YSN family. There's nothing better than that for us. And the thing that I love even more so than that is that these teams that bow out of contention root for their teams that are in their conference. I love seeing Boardman jackets at Greenwood Stadium in Austintown. I love seeing, Hubbard jackets at Poland and vice versa. It's how it goes. I love this. I love this time of year because if we get those contenders that goes to week 15 and 16, the support from this area, everybody is a part of that team. We fight together against the rest of the state because then you realize that we do play incredible competition and we do welcome competitors in this area because it's an iron sharpens iron scenario right here in this quadrant of the state, Northeast Ohio. Let's go. Our region is quickly being known for housing some of the best football this state has ever known. It's just how it is. This is how it's becoming. I'm not sure that there's anybody that can debate that right now. The MAC, yes. They've had their time. They're potentially having their time. But there's a storm brewing. That storm started in 2022 when you had 3 teams locally that were in the state championship. I'm not so certain that we don't have that number or even potentially more this year. I'm not so certain. That 3 is a nice number, though. That 3 is a nice number to have. All right, hang on. Let me just get to the comments here. Um, yeah, Springfield. Michael Dunn says Springfield. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The only issue that I see from Springfield's situation, no look for the Tigers without open enrollment. Okay, so we've talked about this before. Open enrollment is something that I can appreciate that teams or schools or districts don't have open enrollment, right? I don't sit there and point fingers to schools that do, because I think it's silly, because everybody has the opportunity in the state of Ohio to have open enrollment, if I'm not mistaken. You can't sit there and point fingers and say, well, our school's better because, or our school is held back because we don't have open enrollment. That, to me, that's not an excuse. People can sit there. It's capitalism, right? My son, my daughter will be open enrolled kids. And it's nothing personal. It's not anything from a scenario, but like, it's just, this is where I feel more comfortable. This is where my kids feel more comfortable. This is the culture. This is what it is. It's nothing against the town that we're in. I mean, look, I'm proud that I graduated from East Palestine. I think my kids would do fine in East Palestine. They want to be, it's a family decision that they want to go somewhere else. I don't hold that against people that do. I don't sit there and point fingers and say, well, Springfield doesn't get any love because they're not open enrollment, or Springfield doesn't get any love, because they choose not to, or whoever it may be, right? So I think when you look at open enrollment to me, the number one, especially in sports, open enrollment, all it did was balance out what used to be the argument between Catholic schools recruiting and public schools not being able to. To me, that's what it became. There's plenty of schools in our area that do not go into open enrollment. They do not choose to open enroll. There's plenty of schools that do. And I don't think you can hold it either way. It'd be the same way that, East Palestine has open enrollment and they dropped a division to Division 7. So if they go on a run in Division 7, I don't think you can hold it against East Palestine that they're open enrollment, and vice versa. You look at JFK. Obviously, their kids choose to go to JFK and they enroll into a Catholic school. I don't think you can hold it against Warren JFK that they want their way of educating, and these parents want their way of educating kids. Getting completely off topic here, but it's one of those situations where I think open enrollment balanced things out in Ohio. I think that having choices is never a bad thing. And I think that if you're just going there for athletics, I think that is a bad thing. I think that's not the point of open enrollment. But if you're going there for culture or academics, and athletics is the cherry on top, don't see a problem with that whatsoever. And I don't think schools should have to answer because they are or aren't open enrollment. I think it's a choice that every district makes, every superintendent, every school board, they make. And congratulations to them for making that decision. It's a decision they have to live with, as we all do. I think open enrollment is a good thing from a standpoint of allowing communities and school districts to have a choice of who they bring in, or who comes to your school. There's always the ability for a school district to say thanks but no thanks. That's the one thing that people don't understand about open enrollment. You can't just walk in and warm bodies accepted. There's a process that every family has to go through if they want to choose open enrollment. So, Mike, to answer your question, no, I'm not showing no love to Springfield because they're not open enrollment. I'm showing I show love to Springfield all the time. As a matter of fact, we talked about it with Dana Balish today. I think that Springfield has a great opportunity here this week against Dalton, as long as they don't turn over the football, and as long as it's a situation where they can go to Dante Gentile, who has over 2,100 yards rushing and 26 touchdowns. If they go that route, I like Springfield's chances. And if they decide that they're going to go, to the receiver route, you got Baird throwing the football back there. You have, the I want to say three-headed monster, but the three musketeers, in Appel, in Lamortella, and in, wait for it, starts with Carson Cunningham. See, I'm doing all this without notes, by the way. All this without notes. It's just great studying. And oh, by the way, they've got Wyatt Kuboff and Case and Kosick, who have combined for over 200 tackles by themselves this year. So I'm not taking anything away from Springfield. That I promise you. It's a situation where I think Springfield, even though they're going to be the underdogs, I think they, to me, are going to walk away and surprise everybody just like they did last week. So just, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's why Fridays are fun here on YSN. What do we have time-wise left? You know what? We've got time. I want to do this interview that we taped last Tuesday at Giangelo's. I'm not sure that anybody's necessary. I mean, I know people have watched it, South Range especially. This is a very special interview that we had because we do it every Tuesday. Dave Rock, who does, cordial enough to sit down with us and talk ball, talk shop. He sent me a message earlier that week, and he said, I would love for us to have a question that alludes to Coach Yeagley because I want him to realize and know, and I'm paraphrasing here, want him to know that we're thinking about him. And so with that, ran with it a little bit, took some of the privileges that I have in talking to Coach Yeagley and said, hey, well, why don't you come on Tuesday night? We'll make it a nice surprise. We'll sit down with you. And here is that interview from Tuesday night from Giangelo's with Coach Dave Rock and Coach Yeagley. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the South Range Raider Coaches Show with Dave Rock, the undefeated South Range Raiders. Still to this day, and my buddy, you come back in, the boys are back. That was the motto, so to speak, last week. I listened to that song probably 800 times.
There you go.
800 times. You got me all fired up. And then what you have here is a rematch of sorts. You guys, get through Fairless, which, you handled your business. I guess that's the easiest way to look at it. Your starters are pulled, the majority of them out in the second half. Gave some opportunities for some guys to get some playoff experience. What did you see in that Fairless game that maybe we didn't see from the bird's eye view for YSN?
I think you said it. Just getting the guys in there early, and they executed at a high level. We try to get them out as early as possible. You're trying to remain healthy this time of year, but the other part of it is you want your depth to continue to improve, and you hope that getting those young guys in there kind of starts getting them hardened up, in terms of the playoff environment, but also provides I think valuable experience for them, moving forward in the years to come. All right, so we're going to jump right to some people that you've looked to as a hero. Talk to me about some guy that's out there that has had a major influence on your life. Oh, man, you guys surprised me. I think anytime you look up to somebody, I think that there's really two things. I think primarily that you're kind of looking for. You want somebody that believes you and believes in you, and somebody that invests in you. And I guess who was that? Coach Yeagley just walked in. So going on probably 25 years now, he continues to be somebody that invests in me and leads me, and somebody that I know believes in me and supports me, and hope we're making him proud. But it's really cool to see him. It is cool to see him. And Mrs. Yeagley. Oh, the yes, absolutely. The king and queen. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up, Dan Yeagley. Love you too. Thank you. Have a seat. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I feel left out a little bit. No. Here's your. You know how to use one of these? No. Is your first interview here on YSN?
Oh my goodness.
All right. So it was a setup. It was a setup. You did here. Let's make sure we turn you up a little bit.
That was sneaky.
That was a little sneaky. I'm sorry that we had to do that. It's one of those situations though when you sent me that text message.
Yeah.
You choked me up, and I said I know somebody that would really appreciate this. Send it over to Coach Yeagley, and I said we'd love for you to be here. And the first thing he tells me is what? It's about Dave and it's about the program.
Yeah, I know. I know that's what he would say.
So let's talk. Dave, could reiterate what you were just talking about as Coach Yeagley and Mrs. Yeagley made their entrance here.
Yeah, just I think it's really sometimes it's hard to quantify, what somebody means to you and what they've meant to you for so long. I think for me, there's really two things that stick out in terms of, caring about somebody. I think you want somebody that you hope that the people that you love, invest in you, and you hope that they support you, and you hope that they believe in you. And I know I wouldn't be in the position I am if he didn't believe in me, and I certainly wouldn't be in the position I am professionally or in my everyday life if it weren't for the investments and the time that he spent investing in me. And trust me, I'm one of so many people in this community, that he's invested in and believed in over the years. And so I just, this time of year, it's, football becomes, especially this time, late in the playoffs, it starts to become where football is, consumes what you're doing as a coach. And I was just thinking about him last week and thinking, I don't know what's he doing? It's probably so different for him now, versus all those years where he was making playoff runs and spending, every waking minute trying to think about the program. So just wanted to let him know, that we're still thinking about him all the time. And I know he's still thinking about us. But I wanted to make sure he knew that we weren't so distracted with trying to win football games that we lost track of the big guy.
But there's still priorities.
Yeah. No, I know.
The kids and your fellow coaches, and don't forget about Julia and the kids. Those are always important.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we saw you was a retirement announcement here on YSN. So, I mean, talk about
that was
how
a long time ago.
It feels like it. But how have you kept kind of the eye on the Raiders, so to speak, and eye on Dave, and how often do you guys connect and talk about strategy and life and what it's like to be a head coach?
I don't talk strategy with David because David is way up here.
Okay.
I mean, way up here. He knows. I mean, him and the program is doing unbelievable things, and I'm more worried about. I know what he's thinking. I know what's going on. This time of year, you start pulling your hair out. And you start thinking about different things. And I watch film. Luckily, they haven't kicked me off huddle yet, and I can still get on. And it might be only a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, but I still watch. And I talk to the kids, talk to the people in the community, and how everybody in the community is just so happy that David's in charge, and Coach Rock, what he's doing, and how he cares about the kids, and how he is lifting the program up to a whole nother level. And it makes me so proud. I'm so proud of him, and so proud of the kids and what they're doing, and it's awesome. It's fun to watch. It's fun to be part of, and from the outside, just watching how he does things and how the staff does things. And like I said, I couldn't be more proud of him and what he's done. I mean, even Coach Owen, first time we got to see it was last Friday, and he said, "Oh my goodness, how special it was to be able to watch you and watch the team and watch how the kids handle themselves."
There's quiet moments, obviously, as a head coach, where you're thinking, second guessing yourself, win or lose. Dave, what kind of mentorship have you had with Dan? What conversations, text messages, whatever it may be, that you've leaned on him, or just understanding the program, understanding the maturity that takes, because no coach gets there overnight. Certainly, you have a great staff around you. Yeah. What has that transition been like, and how has this guy helped?
Oh, I've had more conversations with him and Kelly than I'm sure they wanted to have. There's still,
our door's always open. That.
I know. There's still a lot of things that I call them for, and sometimes just to talk and just to vent, and or to, I guess it's just nice to know that I can pick up the phone and call somebody that I know is going to give me honest advice, and obviously an incredible perspective in terms of his experience and stuff, and somebody that cares about me, and I know that somebody that's seen it all and been through it all, and sometimes it's nice just to have somebody tell you it's going to be all right.
certainly after a state championship, it's tough to give up the reins, right? Because you're thinking, okay, I think we can run this back. I think we can do this again. You took a long time to decide whether you were going to retire or not, from the head football coach position, and you wanted to make sure that it was in good hands, and you did that with Dave.
Oh my goodness!
Talk to me about that decision from that moment to now. Why you're so proud? Because you tell me all the time how you're proud of the kids on this in this program, and certainly Dave.
So proud. It's funny. We're sitting there at the state clinic. I had to speak down there. We won the state title, and we're sitting up in a hotel room, and I'm sitting there watching the coaches interact, talking about next year, talking about blocking schemes, talking about everything else. And I just said, you know what? I could step down right now. I was sitting back watching and listening, and I could step down right now, and I know the program's in great hands. I see how they interact with each other. I see how they do things, and I didn't say anything to them then. I went home and talked to Kelly first.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And then I pulled the coaches in and said, hey, you know what, this is what's going to happen. And opened it up for a conversation with them. And obviously it was a unanimous choice amongst all of them to have Coach Rock take over the reins. And, then it just becomes politicking from there on out because you never know what's going to happen. And when all of a sudden, figureheads. But the main thing I told the people that were interviewing, that were going to interview these guys and everything else, I said, you got to think about what's best for the program. I mean, the program is the most important thing right now. Hiring Coach Rock is the most important thing for the program. Because if he stays, the other coaches are going to stay. There's continuity involved and everything else. And we always told the kids to make a commitment. And the staff has made a commitment for years and years. And that's something that's very important, to keep that commitment and keep the continuity of the program and everything else. And, he's lived the program. He's played in it. He's coached in it. He's been a huge part in it. I mean, he's been a coordinator. He's been more than a coordinator. He's been helping hand with the other kids, throughout the years. And he knows what they're thinking. He knows what they're doing and how they're feeling. And he's not afraid to tell the kids that he loves them. I mean, how important that is. And he's the guy that should have taken over, and luckily they decided that's not luckily. They did what was right, and gave him the head reins, and and it's history from here on out because what he's done the last 2 years is unbelievable. And like I said, I'm so proud of him and so proud of the kids and how he's kept everything together and helped keep the coaches together and everything else. And it makes me feel great seeing the program go up and beyond, and you always want to see it grow, and I'm seeing it grow week in and week out. And that's just so important. I love seeing the program grow and the changes that he's made for the better, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm just so happy, and all the way the other coaches that Coach McClellan, Coach Owen. Is so proud of what you've done and how you've done it, and I know Coach McNay would be extremely happy with what you've done, and I know you never got to meet him. He would love you, though. He would love you, and just to see how the program's continuing to grow.
One of the things that I love is the fact that you keep watching tape, and you're evaluating not only South Range and your players, but the other players. I went down to the sideline with you right before the game, and you're like, 4 is going to be a problem today, and certainly he had his impact on the game a couple times.
Yes.
For you, when you look at what our boys have been able to do, I mean, the last time that you coached them, they were sophomores after that state championship. Now they sit here as seniors. Talk to me about what you see on tape, how you've seen them grow, this coaching staff grow, David grow. Talk to me about the program and how you feel inside when you watch it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I remember yelling at these kids, and getting on them about doing crazy things in the locker room and chasing them around, and they've grown so much over these years, and a lot of that has to do, hats off to David and his staff and how he's brought them up the last 2 years and how they've grown, not just grown into great men. I mean, you see it. You see how they act. You see how they interact with the people in the stands, their families. You see how they interact with the other team. You see how they interact with the officials. Nothing speaks more of a program when the officials say, how great of a job you're doing because it comes out in the kids.
Yeah.
You know, the kids are a reflection of the coaches and the staff, and how the officials, you know, who I've known for a long time, have complimented you over and over again, and the kids over and over again on how they're playing the game right. And you know, hats off to even, you know, we beat Fairless last week, you know, and handily and everything else, but you know, Coach Rock spent time with the Fairless staff last year during the winter and everything else, and talked to them about team building and talked to them about going through some problems. And don't be surprised if he calls you again, because he respects the program, respects what you're doing, and respects on how you're doing it.
Biggest takeaway I had was we're standing down there, they're about ready to turn the lights off, and I believe it was a Fairless AD. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said, "I hope you guys win it all."
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the head coach. Actually.
That was the head coach.
That was
okay.
the head coach.
I mean, that was incredible to see that, and like, there's a way to be, you know, a good sport during the game and to win the right way. You guys certainly did it. The game was never in doubt. You know, I think that's the most politically correct way to put it. But when a team leaves and they say, "We hope you win the whole thing," for you, probably the first time you're hearing it, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously we spent some time, you know, over the offseason, got to know Coach Sarbaugh, and he does a great job over there. Comes from a great coaching family.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I think, you know, once you start getting into the playoffs, a lot of these programs, I think, are more similar than they are different. You know, that's why they're in the playoffs. You know, it's made up of communities that I think are respectful and appreciate, you know, like Coach said, the game being played in a certain way. And so it's definitely humbling, and we do obviously appreciate the support and have a lot of respect for the Fairless program. So definitely appreciative of them.
And they'll be back.
Yeah, they'll be back.
I mean, yeah, that quarterback looked pretty good. Before was impressive.
Yes.
Impressive. So Peter Killey, want to give him all due respect. Mm-hmm. All right, so since he's here, you're playing Gerard for the second time in the season. Do you have any questions for this guy, maybe?
Yeah, probably have a list of them. Yeah.
What about, I mean, Dan, what about you? I mean, you look at Dave, I mean, you've got to have something that you've always wanted to ask him. He has to answer. I mean, the camera's right there.
You know, the crazy thing, you talk about Gerard, for me, the scariest part of the playoffs is playing a team twice. Yeah. You know, it's just, I'd rather play somebody from Timbuktu than have to play a team twice. You know, we've done it before, Cressy a couple times, Manchester, you know, a couple times. I worry because the first time, all of a sudden, you beat them, you handle them pretty well and everything else, and then all of a sudden you got to come back and play them again. For me, my stomach turns with that kind of stuff, and it worries. I got butterflies. I have butterflies for you guys and the kids because, you know, all of a sudden they are kids.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, we beat them by 30 the first time. Well, you go back and look at McDonald and Lowville. You know, McDonald crushed them by 30 the first time, and all of a sudden you got beaten the first round by the team that you beat.
That's right.
You know, a 50-point swing is huge, and I worry about just kids being kids and taking the team lightly, and I worried that a little bit about Fairless, but you got them ready to play, and you got them playing well, and I know we've improved since then, and I know they've improved since then, but it's scary, and I feel for you. I'm glad you're doing it this time instead of me.
Is there a worry there? I mean, in the back of your mind, do you worry? Okay, because in my mind, the team that lost the first time has the advantage because they can change everything, and if they lose, oh, well, we give it our best shot. You guys, if you change anything and end up on the wrong end of the stick, people are going to look at you and the staff and say, well, why'd you change it? You beat them so well the first time. I mean, is there anything going on in your mind?
Yeah, I think anytime you play a team twice, at least in my experience when you were here, Coach, you know, there's kind of two facets of it. One, if you beat them the first time, you know, you're trying to make sure your guys aren't overlooking somebody. Right. With this group especially, I don't necessarily worry about that because they were, I think as a football team, we were left a little bit with a sour taste in our mouth the first game. We just didn't think we played well. And I know Gerard would tell you the same thing. They didn't feel like they played well.
Sure.
So I think where it becomes a little bit dicey is just, you know, as you move on, you don't really know what they're going to do different or what we're going to do different. And so I think as a staff, you have to be prepared for a lot of things and try to make sure we're doing a good job on Friday night of adjusting kind of on the fly. But I know our kids are hungry. You know, I know it sounds cliche, but we talk all the time about trying to win every play.
Yeah.
You know, win one play at a time. And the truth is, I don't care what the scoreboard says. We lost a lot of reps the first time we played Gerard. A lot of individual moments we lost and a lot of individual reps we didn't play well. And so we're trying to get as much stuff cleaned up. And it's also a measuring stick for us to see how much better we've gotten. And I know they've gotten a lot better. Yeah. You can tell on film watching Girard, they're a lot different now than they were at that time. They're a lot better now. And I'd like to think that we're the same thing. So it's, doesn't matter what happened 6 weeks ago. We don't have any control over that now. We have a chance to go play on Friday night and compete and try to put our best foot forward.
One of the biggest things that I've seen, and obviously the big headline, talking point, whatever, this is going to be, win, lose, or draw, the last game at Rominger Stadium this year for the South Range Raiders. Yeah. You guys have both played a lot of football. You've coached a lot of football. What do you tell your team when on an emotional night, right? Senior night's always emotional, but in South Range, we look at it and we go, okay, we still have this many weeks of hopefully playing at Rominger. What do you tell your team that, parents are going to get emotional? It's in the back of my player. Tell your teams, or what have you told your teams about your last game in front of the home bleachers and in front of the home crowd and things of that nature?
Good, Coach.
Thanks. Well, it's always special. Home is home, and you always fight for that home. Fight for that. That field, that home field, and the kids respect it. You can know that. They practice there every day. They play there every day. All their home games, and you can tell that home means something is special to them. Defending the house, and I know that they talk about it all the time, and I know that the kids believe in it because they understand how special home is. When you think back, and we've never lost an NEA game at home. Wow. And that's special. I mean, because guess what? The league games are always important, and you're always defending your home field. And I know Coach Rock preaches it over and over again. He's a firm believer of how important home is, and he's won a lot of games at home, and he's playing in as coach, and he's going to have the kids ready. I know he is, and him and his staff is already preparing them. I mean, they had I don't watch half practice, but you had a half decent practice tonight. Yeah. Just watch a little bit of it, and he's going to have them ready. I mean, they understand how important it is, and look at the community, look at the people here. The South Range community is so awesome and so special, and they're here for kids and for Coach Rock, and they're here, to support the South Range community, and it's going to be a special night.
Anything to add?
Oh yes.
No, Coach said it. I mean, I think our guys take a lot of pride in playing for the community. We obviously love playing at home, and we take a lot of pride in trying to put a good product on the field and play the game up to a certain standard. The game, your last home game is going to be a game that you remember forever, whether it's week 12 or whatever. And I think our guys understand that. They also understand that their actions and how well we maintain our poise and handle business is going to determine whether or not it's a great memory for them or whether or not it's a memory that's going to sting for a while. So they understand that between now and then they've got to do everything they can to get themselves in a position to try to be successful. All
right, last question. Don't get mad at me. What is one of the traits you admire most about Coach Yeagley and maybe have adopted into your coaching style?
I mean,
you don't have to answer that. You really don't.
It's hard. There's so many of them. I think, probably for people that know us both, we're very different personalities, I think. I think the biggest thing, when I first got the job, I said I want to be as poised as Coach was, and I want to be as consistent in preparation as he was. One thing that there's so many things, but one of the things that I admire about the program is just the way he built it. It wasn't like we got an influx of 50 new players in a year. I mean, it was, brick by brick over 30 years of just relentless approach and trying to turn a 3-7 team into a 5-5 team, and trying to turn a 9-2 team into a 13-1 team. Just getting every ounce out of what he had every year. And that was really the secret, I think, to the success of the program still to this day, was that it wasn't built in a year or 2 years or 5. It was built over 30 years of grind, and probably, Coach, you'd say before that. And it just came down to no matter what the record said or the scoreboard said or anything else, every day was important, in preparation. And I got to tell you, last week we were here early for the YSN show. You had to leave. Mm-hmm. So we got off the field at about 4:30. We come walking across the street, and we hear beep, beep. we got caught. So let me just tell you, Coach Jiggly, we would have been out there. We wouldn't have been here by 5:30 last week if Coach was still around. So
no,
but I think just the things that he emphasized in terms of just the toughness, the preparation, smash mouth Raider football, the consistency, the first class, trying to handle yourselves in a first class manner, respecting people, treating them the right way. All that stuff are things that I've learned from him and that we're trying to emulate every day.
And I guess vice versa. I mean, everybody else has seen a short sample size of what Coach Rock's been able to do. You've known him practically his entire life.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
What do you admire about this young man?
I love the way that he handles the kids. I mean, the kids are the most important thing in the program. It really is. And, he handles the kids so well, and he interacts with them. When he was a player, we can go back, you asked him some games that come stuck out in his mind, we're playing up in Fremont. Oh, my goodness, that was a cold night.
Yeah.
And he knew everything. I mean, he knew exactly what was going on. He knew he would come off the field and say, hey, so-and-so's not filling his gap. He's too wide. He was a coach on the field then. All through his 4 years of playing, he was always there and always knew what was going on. So his knowledge of the game was unbelievable, and it still is. And he's still continuing to learn, still continuing to grow. He's a student of the ball game. He understands. He's making great connections, and he's starting to, get his network together, which is very, very important. And I'm happy to see him do that, and especially the people that he's starting to talk to, and because they're also good people and good coaches. But the way he interacts with the kids is priceless. It really is. And the community. The community's fell in love with him, like I have all my life, and because he's special. He's just very special. And like I said, how he treats the kids, how he treats the program, how he carries himself, always in a professional manner, always looking to improve, always, his motto, win the next play, win that one play at a time, win that next play. The kids have bought into it, and they bought into it, and they understand, hey, guess what, I messed up, but the next play is more important, and how important that is. And like I said, I admire him, and I admire what he's doing, and I admire how he's raised the program to a whole nother level. And he's special. He's special. South Range community has a good one. Got a real good one.
The South Range Raiders take on the Girard Indians this Friday, Rominger Stadium, Week 12 of the playoffs. Winner advances, loser goes home. Ladies and gentlemen, a special treat tonight, Mr. Dan Yeagley and Dave Rock.
Thank you.
And, by the way, we forgot the tagline. Go ahead.
Yeah, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network.